Hello YouTube. Today I'm gonna go over my carving knife collection. Before I jump into the knives, I was just gonna show you guys some stuff I've carved. I carved mostly spoons, right? You see all these spoons here. Spoons. Little spoons, big spoons, cooking spoons, eating spoons. But I carve other things too, besides kitchen utensils. This was one of the first spoons I ever carved. This is an unfinished project. I leave unfinished projects in my wake. When I first got into carving, I did a lot of sanding and assisted with power tools and stuff. And then I kind of veered off of that and just do tools now, hand tools. You know, I gave away all the really good ones of these I had, but it's a spalted maple ball and cage, you know, the old ball and cage thing. These spirals are really fun. That one broke. This one was one of the first ones I did, and I sanded it, but I don't like sanding anymore. You know, little birdie. Few examples. You can do letters. And here's a couple more spoons. Just, you know, I like carving spoons. That's mostly what I do. Just to give you an idea. So we'll go ahead and dive into the knives. I'll start with the main bag I use. It's I call it carving bag. This is from Helicon, and it's sold as like a bushcraft bag. But I keep all my stuff in here, all my stropping stuff, all my knives, all my unfinished wood projects are in bags that I want to keep green. And random sticks and pieces of wood I want to carve are in here. Grab and go bag, if you will. Pens, rulers, knives. So we're going to go ahead and start with this bag I will be pulling from. I would say that this video is geared towards people who are just getting into carving and they want to know what knives they need to get, or people who just want to explore the different kinds of knives that are out there, kind of options you have. I went a little crazy and bought a bunch of knives. And two more knives. Okay. So if you're beginning and you're new to wood carving, brand new to wood carving, and you want a carving knife, look no further than the Mora 106. I have two of these. This is the best spoon carving knife, all around carving knife. This is the Mora 106. They make a shorter one, so if you don't like that long blade, get the shorter one. I forget which one that is, 103 or something like that. But yeah, these are Mora 106s. This is a workhorse of a knife. You can do everything you need to do pretty much with this thing. You can get by with just this, and if you need a smaller knife, then I would look no further than the Flex Cut detail knife. All you need are these two knives right here, and you can carve anything and everything. The only other thing you would need is a hook knife. And so yeah, the Mora 106 and the Flex Cut detail knife. And like I said, for beginners, if you're just getting into it, these aren't going to cost you that much. Maybe 30 or 40 bucks for both of those. And you're going to get a really high quality knife. And then next you're going to want a hook knife. Now, Mora makes 2 hook knives. They probably make more than 2 different kind of hook knives, but I would either get that or a Deepwood Venture hook knife. And that's what this is here. I carved most of my spoons. Focus. With this knife right here. And this is the bigger Deepwood's Venture hook knife. They don't make them like this anymore, but that's fine. And that's going to be to get the bowl of your spoon carved out. And if you're getting into it, I would recommend looking up Swedish carving techniques. It's the way to go. So Deepwood's Venture, and this is what their small hook knife looks like. And these are going to be way better than the Mora hook knives. And this pretty much takes care of everything you need. The only thing you might want besides this is a shallow hook. And I think I have one of those I can show. But if you're just getting into spoon carving or carving, that's pretty much all you need. You don't even need the detail knife, and you don't need 2 hook knives. So just to get started, you could do those 2. Pretty much. It all depends on what you're trying to do. And I made this case for it. It's just wood. These are carving jacks. They make all sorts of different ones. This is a flex cut one for spoons, spoon carving jack. I don't really recommend this for a beginner. I have trouble using this for getting the a bowl carved out. Seems pretty shallow, but it's a spoon carving jack. It's a good tool. It's a good tool. Just don't buy the cheap old timer. I have this and I just don't like it. Not very good. Doesn't cut very good. You're gonna have to reprofile the edges to get better performance out of these. If you know how to do that and you're looking to save money, and it doesn't lock either. So I'm not a fan of this thing. I mean, it works, but the thing is this is so cheap, and something like this is like $100, depending on which model you get. They're expensive, but it's like a pocket carving knife. Carving jacks is what they call them. I keep a couple gouges in my bag. Flex cut gouges are really good. Get it out of there. So this is just a shallow, small gouge. Palm gouge, you would call it, I think. Works pretty good. Maybe I'll show you guys how these things cut. So hollowing out material is really good. I use this on the ball and cage a lot to get into those areas. And then a V tool, V gouge. Honestly, I don't use these very much, but if you're gonna need one of these, I would get flex cut. These are really good for the price, and you're gonna be able to do lines, I guess. Just really good tools. So those are the 2 gouges I keep in my bag. This is another Deepwood Venture. This is their sloyd knife, basically their version. So this Mora 106 is called a sloyd knife. So that's what you're going to want to carve spoons with, or just any carving in general. A sloyd knife is really good. This is just a nicer sloyd knife. Deepwood Venture is the company that makes it. That's who these 2 hook knives were made by. Right here. And it's just a really good knife. I like the long handle and the longer blade. I think the blade's longer. And you can get different results, you know, with a thinner or skinnier Sloyd knife, you know. But they're all going to have a Scandi grind. All your wood carving knives should have like basically a Scandinavian grind on them. So that's the Deep Woods Venture. There's a company called Fadir, Fadir, made in Ukraine, and I bought this. They market it as a big spoon carving knife, a good all-around spoon carving knife, but it's kind of like a Twicka-cam, and a Twicka-cam is just a big hook knife for hollowing out big things. You could do shallow, but like cups, kuksas, and stuff like that. I really like this. Super sharp. I'm really happy with the Fadir tools that I have bought. But that is a beast. Something like this would ideally be used with something clamped down, right? So you can use two hands and really hollow out your material. But you can use this one-handed, in hand. I don't tend to use vices or clamps. I just do everything in hand. But yeah, that's the Fadir tools. And this one I got from a maker that I found on Instagram who lives in the same town I do. I made the cover out of lilac wood, and it's a Sloyd knife, and this is probably my favorite Sloyd knife. Just love this thing. Really nice. And that goes on, and eventually after so many sharpenings it'll probably not work anymore. And I handled this one myself. This was designed by a buddy of mine who's really good at carving, and it was made by his friend who's a blacksmith, Hidden Valley Forge. And it's another Sloyd knife. Really good Sloyd knife. This one's a high vanadium content carbon steel, and it's just really good. So that's the contents of my spoon carving bag. And we're going to move on to knife roll. Actually, I missed one. So this one's another hook knife made by the guy who made this, Runesland Knives on Instagram. And this is a hook knife he'd made. I bought these two as a pair. This is just the blade cover I made for it. So I bought these as a set. And they're both extremely nice. I love both of these. Very good. And this hook knife has a hollow grind in here, which makes stropping and sharpening a little easier. And a lot of the hook knife companies and makers are going to that hollow grind. But yeah, this thing's amazing. Fantastic knife. So that's the last one in the carving bag. I kind of messed up on this thing, that's why there's two of them, but extra security, I guess. So yeah, that's a really good set. Alright, now we're going to move on to a tool roll. We're going to start off with this tool roll. Less desirable stuff. This was a Mora 106 I handled myself and Made the blade cover. I totally messed this blade up. Just totally butchered it. So I just haven't gotten rid of it. But there's that. This is what you would call a scorp. It's for like making, carving out seats, like chairs, seats and stuff, or whatever you need to hollow out. I don't use it, but I have it. Just a pull and drag type cutting instrument. If anyone has any questions, just let me know. These are by a company called Pafale or something, some Swedish company. Just a gouge and a VEG tool. A bigger one than the other one. And this is kind of essentially doing what the hook knife does. There are people who carve spoons with these. If you don't want to use a hook knife, there are ways to implement this. Just be really careful, and you want to figure out a safe way to use it, because this can be really dangerous. I've cut myself pretty bad with one of these. This is what you would call a Twicka cam. It's kind of like the fader ones I just showed you guys, but this one's got an edge on both sides. So this is more for having two hands and having your piece clamped down to something. I use this to do a couple cups in my beginning carving days, but I wouldn't recommend this. This beavercraft. Beavercraft stuff's not that great. But I use this. This is a beavercraft gouge, and I use this with a mallet to do the inside of a cup. And I mean, it worked, and it got me by. Just make sure you learn how to sharpen. If you don't know how to sharpen, start off with cheap tools. I ruined a lot of these sharpening them, but I was able to at least get them sharp again. This is a beavercraft flat, like kind of a shallow gouge. It's actually not that bad. I kind of like this one. But for the most part, I would stray away from beavercraft at all possible. They do have a couple good beginner items. Not to say they're terrible, but I feel like Flex Cut. If Flex Cut has a version of anything you're looking for, I would go with them first. So that's all that's in the less desirable tool roll. Before we move on to the other roll, a Japanese pull saw. These are freaking awesome, and I think they're like 20 bucks. You can get these relatively cheap. They cut amazing. They got two sides, one for cross cut and one for not cross cut, but it's a really good saw. It's a pull saw, so you're only going to do a pulling motion, and the width of this will help you keep your cut straight. You should be able to eyeball that and keep it straight. But these are really good. Very inexpensive. Just find one made in Japan, and I'm sure it'll be good. And how I rough out the shape of my spoon is I use a hatchet. It doesn't have to be a fancy hatchet. This happens to be a really nice carving hatchet. It's a Gransfur Brooks Swedish carving axe, and I absolutely love this thing. It's just the best. I think they're around $300. I don't remember how much it was, but You definitely don't have to spend a lot of money on a hatchet. Out of all your carving tools, I would spend the least amount of money on a hatchet. And if you're looking for more to invest, I would invest in a good hook knife. The hook knife is probably more important. You can get a cheap hatchet and a cheap Mora Sloyd knife, and then get a nice hook knife, and you'll probably be way better off. That being said, this thing is awesome. I did use just a regular Prandy hatchet for a long time, and it did just fine. The bevels of this are designed for carving, so going in and out of the cut and into the wood is just way easier, way nicer, better angle. This thing's awesome. I'll show you the Prandy that I started with. So this is what I started with, just a Prandy hatchet. The company is now not on here anymore. It rubbed off. I forget who made it. But Prandy style hatchet, if you go on Amazon and you type that in, you can get one of these. Fairly inexpensive. It's a good hatchet. Like I said, I used it for a long time. But having used both of these, I picked this one every time. This is kind of like a rough starter axe, like going through bark and stuff, because bark can be really abrasive on your cutting edge. And this axe, make sure your axe is sharp. This axe will shave. It might be a little duller than that now, but it's like right there at shaving sharp. This thing is a laser beam. Keep it sharp. Yeah. Alright, onto the tool roll. And just a little note. If you have a dog, keep your dog out of range of your spoons. This was my latest spoon I carved, and she grabbed it off the coffee table. I thought we were over this, but apparently not. Alright, this is a Carhartt tool roll. Oh yeah, and if you're going to buy a tool roll for your knives, get a leather one. These canvas ones get poked through. Got a tool roll inside of a tool roll. These are dockyard tools, and these are micro gouges. These are really cool. It's just a bunch of different sizes of the same gouge. Super fine, super small, and then that's the biggest one. These are really cool. They're expensive, but I really like them. And I don't even know where I got this flex cut. I think I thought this flex cut tool roll was bigger, and I bought it, and it was just this tiny little thing. So I ended up using it for these. All my favorite knives are in this roll. I really need to get a leather tool roll. This right here is from Dell Stubbs. I can't remember the website. If you look up Dell Stubbs carving knives, I'm sure his knives will pop up. He's got a bunch of, or he's got different types of carving knives, but this is coal rosing knife. It's basically like giving wood a tattoo, kind of like scrimshaw, but on wood. And let's see here. I'll grab an example of that really quick. So realistically, you could use any knife for coal rosing. These are just designed specifically for it, but some people just use their Mora 106. I am not good at coal rosing. I am not an artist, but that's basically you cut your design and then you rub coffee or cinnamon into it and you burnish it, and it gives the wood a tattoo. Moving on, this is a beaver craft. It's actually not too bad of a beaver craft. It's one of those shallow hooks I was talking about earlier. Comes with a nice little case. Not a bad knife. These little beaver crafts aren't too bad. Some of them you gotta watch out for. But yeah. Shallow hook knife. This is a D Woods Venture. I believe they call this a detail knife. Their blades are very stout, so it's kind of thick blade stock. This is a Deep Woods Venture, and this is a Deep Woods Venture. I'm a pretty big fan of Deep Woods Venture. This is what they call a rough out knife. So you'd use this to hog off the material. And then you could do your rolling cuts with this. And then come on in with this for... Sometimes it's nice to have a knife with that profile. Warrenclyffe sheep's foot style blade. Like if you're doing faces and stuff, it's nice having that flat cutting edge. And then this is kind of find really odd random uses for this, but I really like it. It's a pretty sweet knife. You could do chip carving with it. You could do your coal rosing with it. You can find a lot of purposes for this guy. And that tiger maple is just gorgeous. So now that we got the deep woods out of the way, OCC tools. These are really good knives. This is a mini chip carving knife by OCC Tools. I really like these OCC tools quite a bit. This is a detail knife, and this is what they call a rolling knife. Detail rolling knife. Maybe just a rolling knife. And that is designed for your rolling cuts. These have real thin blades. Blade stock. These are really nice. I bought this. This is marketed, I think, as a spoon carving knife. I haven't really used it that much. I don't think I'd recommend their spoon carving knives. They're little hook knives. But these are a good option for detail knives. If you're just looking to do figurines and stuff, like faces and whatnot, OCC Tools is great. This is a Beavercraft chip carving knife. I had no problems with this. Beavercraft, pretty good. Just a chip carving knife. They have a certain style to them. And you absolutely do not need a chip carving knife to chip carve. This is skew knife, I think. And this is a stab knife. And these have some different purposes. You can stab little patterns into the piece of wood. There's a bunch of different stuff you can do. Do little patterns. Whatever, you know. It's basically the point of that. Now, this is basically the same thing, but it's much finer blade. This one's like fat, so it actually leaves an imprint. This one is really skinny. So yeah, there's those two. That's just a Ramelson. That was cheap. This is a flex cut. Anything from flex cut is good that I've had anyway. And then here are your moras. The mora hook knives, I mean, I did say that, you know, invest in a nicer hook knife, but there are spoon carvers who make some of the best spoons you've ever seen in your life with these. So realistically, if you just got a couple of these or one of these and then the Mora 106, you could get going. They come really nice and sharp. There's a lot of people who modify this when they get it. You might want to look up a video on that, but they grind off this bevel here. And it just makes it cut into the wood better. This one's two-sided, so be careful. So those are the moras. And I think this is the last one. This one is kind of a special knife. I don't know what you would call this. I don't know where you could find one. I just saw this on Instagram by a guy named Beck with Forge, and I just had to have it for whatever reason. I've hardly used it, but man, is this thing sweet. It's double-edged. And it is just gorgeous. I'm pretty sure this was intended to finish off bowls, like on the inside of a bowl, to get in there and do your finishing cuts and smooth everything out. Pretty sure that was the purpose of that. That was his intended purpose anyway. I have yet to really put this to good use. And that's just a quick video on my carving knives. You don't need all these knives. I don't need all these knives. I just have a problem, and I bought all these knives. I'm glad I have them, but realistically, I don't need all of these. But I really like them. They're all really good and do their own specific task. Carving knife collection. So, alrighty. Any questions? Let me know, and we'll see ya.